Once again, good morning. Today, we are talking about the virtual machine and the virtual machine related day-to-day activities. Okay. So, what are all the activities that can be or that will be done every day during our business operations? Okay. So, those things we are going to cover today. So yesterday we learned about creation of virtual machine step by step. We went to the Azure portal, we went to the virtual machine blade, and there we created, clicked on create a new virtual machine, and then we started entering the subscription information, resource group information, and then availability information. Then we selected the operating system, what you want, and then you went and added your security information like your username and password, and then you added your disk information, and then tags, review, and then you created the VM, right? So imagine you have you have a lot of virtual machines there in the estate, and you may have a question, sir, what are all the day-to-day activities we will be having at our offices? Okay, so here we have few list of day-to-day activities that we perform during our business operations. Okay, so the first one is like VM start and stop. Okay, so this VM start and stop is one of the activity that we do during our business operations, day-to-day business as usual operations. Okay, so why do we start and stop the VM? Say for example, I told you already, so sometimes the cloud is like it is pay as you go, means whatever you use, for that only we have to pay for it. Okay, I told you the day one, if you have a virtual machine of 4 CPU and 8 GB memory, if that cost you 100 rupees, okay, if you run 24 by 7, 30 days if you run, it will cost you around 100 rupees. Example. But if you run that computer only during office hours, like from morning 9 a.m. to evening 6 p.m., if you use that, you you are not going to pay the 100 rupees fully, because they are telling if you run this computer for 24 by 7 and 30 days, okay, if you run this for close to 740 hours in the month, you may be paying 100 rupees. But if you run it for very less hours, like if you run from morning 9 a.m. to evening 6 p.m., okay, you may run the machine around how many hours? It should be around 10 to 11 hours. Okay, so you don't need to pay all the 100 rupees. You may end up paying around 45 rupees or something like that. So why do we do that? To save the cost here. So what we do, we will stop the virtual machine just after the business complete. So evening 6 p.m. everybody is going out of the office. Once everybody left the office, we will shut down the, we will deallocate the virtual machine from the portal. Okay, that is called as stop. And the start is like every day morning, before everybody comes and then logs in, we have to make sure this computer is started. Okay, you may ask a question, sir, do we need to manually do this? No, there are a lot of automations. You can just enable the automations, and that automations will look at the timings and stop the virtual machine, and stop the virtual machine after the business hours, and they will make sure the machine is up and running before the business starts. That is the start and stop activity, and you already know how to do that, right? So let me show you one thing here. If you look at our virtual machines yesterday, right? Here we have built two virtual machines. Okay, this test hyphen VM01, it was built by me. If you look at here, the status shows deallocated. Okay, how to turn on or switch on the computer? It is like this. Okay, you just click on this test VM01. Okay, and you can see here in the overview blade, you have an option called connect, start, stop, hibernate, capture, and delete. Okay, here what you have to do, you have to just click on start. As soon as you click on start, this virtual machine now, what will happen, this is stored as a virtual hard disk now, so this will get loaded to an hardware in the data center. So I told you yesterday it was a tenant based system. if you shut down or if you stop the virtual machine in the data center, that particular server which is running your operating system will be getting allocated. If you stop it, it will be deallocated, and as soon as you stop the virtual machine, the same hardware will be leveraged or given it or tenanted for some other vendor or some other customer. Then that is why you are not supposed to pay when the machine is stopped, because you are not consuming that hardware. Okay, that is how it happens. Okay, now you can see, you can connect, just click on connect, and as soon as you click on connect, you can download this RDP file, and see the RDP file got downloaded. Double click on it and you can connect. See how beauty it is. I am now logging into the machine. I have logged into the machine. You can also log in from your computer for this virtual machine if you know this IP address. What is IP address? 51.124.185.185.44. If you know that IP address, you can simply go to your, let me copy the IP address. See, this is the IP address. If you go to this MSTSC, run and type MSTSC, and if you put this IP address here, okay, just click on hit enter. See, you can log in like this, and you can enter password whatever you have it. See, I am able to log in. This is how you start the virtual machine. Okay, since you start the virtual machine, you will be able to log in. Okay, now you see, I will stop the virtual machine. Let me stop the virtual machine and click on stop. It is going to be stopped. Yes, stopping the virtual machine. Now you see this RDP connection. See, the remote server, the remote desktop service session has been ended. The remote computer is shutting down. That is the reason this virtual machine got disconnected. So these are all the stop and start operations that we do at our office in our business as usual operations. Okay, then the snoozing, that's what the snoozing, start and stop is a manual activity. Snoozing means the same thing. Snoozing means shutting down the virtual machine during the off business hours, or whenever it is not required, or whenever it is not supposed to be run. That time you can shut down the virtual machine. That can also be done automatically. Okay, if you go here, if you go to a virtual machine, you have an option called auto shutdown. Okay, you can search here auto shutdown. See, auto shutdown is there. Here you can mention what time this, if you enable this auto shutdown, it will ask you during what time this virtual machine should be shutting down. You can mention, around 18 p.m. Okay, means 6 o'clock Chennai CET. See, Chennai, Calcutta, Mumbai. It is our IST timing, UTC 5:30. Okay, and you want to send them notification before it auto gets shut down. You can enable it, and whom it has to be sended, what is the email ID, this information you have to key in. Then before the machine gets shut down, it will send a notification to this email attendees. Whatever, whoever email IDs you have entered, it will be send an email to that particular VM. Okay, so this is called as auto shutdown. And the snoozing. Snoozing means basically shutting down the virtual machine during the off business hour to run the, to save the running cost. That can be done either manual, or it can be done via scripts, automations, and even Microsoft also tells you, or gives an option to make it automatically happening. Okay, that is called as snoozing. Okay, then the next one is VM performance check. Okay, if you want to see how is my virtual machine is behaving. Okay, so how is my virtual machine, the CPU and memory it is consuming. Okay, so that can be done in two ways. One is you can see or you can refer that in the virtual machine blade. Okay, here if you go to the metrics option here, or you can even go here, go to monitoring here. Okay, yeah, it's still opening, so let me wait for it. So meantime, let me log into that virtual machine. Okay, so I logged into the virtual machine. This is the authentic way of looking at the performance. Okay, if you log into the virtual machine, See here, I will only talk about the servers. I don't talk about the clients because you are going to work as an administrator of the server and the cloud. Okay, so I will never talk about the clients, but the clients also same. Whatever we do operations in the server, the same operations will be doing it in the client machines also, Windows 10, Windows 11 also. Okay, but we talk about only 2019 and 2022 server operating system. Okay, because both are same only. I mean, only the operating system inside the flavor is different, but the operations and the options are the same. Okay, so now you see I have logged into this computer. Here you have this task manager, right? Go to the taskbar and click on the task manager. As soon as you click on the task manager, it is a standard operations, guys. Okay, every engineer does this. Okay, so click on more operations, and you see here, if you look at, you have the processor, you have the performance. If you go to the performance, you can see how is my CPU is behaving. Okay, if you look at here, my CPU is, it is varying between 2 to 3%. I mean, there is a fluctuation, but however, it is not crossing much. It is not more than 90%. If it is more than 90%, then you will get a ticket in your ticketing tool called ServiceNow, stating that there is a server called test-vm01. It is the utilization of the CPU and memory is more than 90%. Okay, kindly have a look. There is a ticket gets generated. So what you do, you log into this computer now. You will come to this task manager and see what is the CPU, what is the memory. See, memory is 40%. CPU is fine here, but memory is 40%. And now you want to see which processor is consuming memory. See, 40%. Now you go to the process tab here, and you click on memory, because memory is 40 something percent and CPU is 80%, right? Just click on the CPU if you want to see which is consuming more CPU. Okay, see, it is service was Windows Update Services was consuming high percentage. Okay, if you click on memory, memory will get sorted, which is using more. Some anti-malware service executable is consuming high. So in this case, everything is operating system only. But sometimes you may notice that some of the application related or some of the unwanted application, like you have your Google Chrome, you may have your some of the application related read and write operations would be happening. That time you can see, you will understand, okay, this is not the operating system related, this is something related to the application. Then you can inform the application team stating that we could see here one of the application, your SAP application related services consuming more CPU and memory. Kindly have a look. If it is Google Chrome, you know that you can just kill it. Okay, then you can also do one more thing. You can go to this users tab here. Here it will show you what and all users are actually running here. Okay, and whether they're active or not. The status here, sometimes it shows disconnected. Then you can right click this user and you can just disconnect this user. Okay, don't disconnect the service account. Service account means it is not an user account. Maybe to run some service you might have created an account. Don't ever terminate that. But if you see, apart from any service account, if you see any other user account here, if you found it as disconnected, you can just remove, right click, and you can just disconnect the session from here. So if you disconnect the session, the CPU and memory will be increased by 5. I mean, the compute consumption will be released by 50 MB, 50 to 100 MB of space will be released, both in CPU and memory. Okay, this is how we check the performance of the services in the operating system. Okay, another option is there here. If you go to the test in the cloud portal, go to metrics. Okay, as soon as you go to the metrics here, you will see the options of virtual machine host, and you can see CPU memory average. See, now if you want to see the memory, sorry, CPU, you can see here the CPU is maximum it went to 40% only. It never went more than 40%. You can tweak the time here. If you want to see last 30 minutes or last 30 days, you can see the data here. Okay, if the data is available, maximum for 30 days only you can see. If you have log analytics workspace, there is a service called log analytics workspace. It is a workspace where it stores all this metrics information, but we don't have enabled any it. It is, that is the reason you don't see any data here. That is the reason you don't see any data. But as soon as you keep it for last 4 hours or last 24 hours, then you can see. Yesterday also this machine was there. See, this is yesterday, May 23rd. See, okay, and May 23rd, if you look at, 39% was there. And today if you see, today if you see now, it is, it is capturing actually. Okay, if you see here today's date, May 24, the percentage is 32%. Why there is a dot 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 value? See, yesterday after the class, what time it is, 8:52 a.m., I have shut down the virtual machine. Till today morning I power on the virtual machine around May 24, 7:37. Today 7:37 a.m. I turned on the virtual machine. So between this time the computer was shut down. That is the reason you don't have any data here. Okay, so as soon as I power on the computer, it started collecting the logs, and it is now telling in the last 1 hour the utilization of the CPU of this computer is only 32%. The same thing you have seen here. Correct? See, 36% only. It was varying now, like 30%, 40% is varying. Okay, but I would always recommend you to go inside the operating system. There is little bit delay will, I mean, little bit changes will be there in the utilization. Okay, so it is always better to go inside the operating system and check. How to check that? It's very easy. Just log into the computer, right click on the taskbar, go to the task manager, and here you go. Okay, if you go to the performance, you will understand what is the CPU, memory, and it network speed is behaving. If you want to specifically see who's consuming more, then if you want to see CPU, click on CPU, it gets sorted out. If you want to see memory, just click on memory, it gets sorted out. Then you understand what processor or what services is consuming. Based on that you take the decisions. And also you can look at the users tab here. In the user tab, if you see any account get disconnected, just right click that account and select disconnect. Then your performance will be tweaked. If you still have the high utilization, then you need to talk to the application team why the application service is consuming more CPU and memory. Okay, that is one thing. Similarly, like I did here, if you want to see the CPU memory also you can see. Okay, see, here I was looking for the CPU percentage, here I was looking for the memory percentage. If you still want, you can even add some other metrics also. IOPS, disk IOPS. Okay, disk IOPS consumed percentage means the read and write operations which is happening inside the operating system. But as of now there is no operations because we don't have any disk also attached. Correct? Now D drive, E drive we don't have, and that is the reason we don't have any logs here. But you have an option to see all the metrics informations here. Where do you need to go? You need to go to the virtual machine here. Okay, select the virtual machine, and you have to go to the metrics option here. Under the monitoring you have a metric option. Yes, here you can select the virtual machine which is needed to be monitored. Okay, and then you can add the metrics the way you want it. Okay, so this is one of the major operations. Then the next one is imaging. So yesterday I told you, right, so we do take the images of the virtual machine. Why do we take the images? Imagine you have to maintain the standard things every day. So whenever you build a new computer in your estate, it should have a similar configuration. What does that say? For example, if you are using the Splunk as a monitoring tool, you should install your Splunk tool. you should if you have your vulnerability scanner Qualys, you have to install your Qualys agent. If you have your XDR agent, if you have your CMDB agent, if you have your backup agent, then if you have your any antivirus. See, all these packages has to be installed in any of the new server that you build. Correct na? As soon as you build the computer, you should make sure the computer is having the right naming. Then the computer is having the right time zone. Then the computer has got all these agents I have just spoke about. Okay, so this is a very repetitive task, and you need to make sure some of the other additional software, some configurations, everything should be managed. So instead of doing that every time, what you can do, you can just install all the required informations and the data to that particular computer, and then you can take the image. Okay, how can you take the image? I'll show you that. Why do we take the image? You will store the ready computed image, so that next time onwards when you build a new computer, you cannot, you don't need to select the marketplace image. You can just select this particular image and build the new computer. If you build the computer with this particular image, you don't need to install the required applications again, because the applications are already there in the computer. I'll show you that tomorrow. Today I will not show you, but I will show you where that option comes. If you see here, if you go to the test VM, imagine this test VM only I'm talking about. So if you open this VM, right, here you have an option called capture. Now the VM is running. See, the status of the VM is running. Okay, and as soon as you click on capture, this will capture the image as is status. Say for example, in if I go to the computer inside, right, imagine I'll just copy some data here. Let me create a folder called data. Okay, and I will create a file here, and inside it some content. Okay, just to show you how it will be. Text or test, sorry. Let me create another one. This is to check the image functionality. Okay, so I'm saving this one. So tomorrow what I will do, when I take the image and build a new VM from this particular image, I mean, if you log into that computer, you can see this data folder and the content of it. That means whatever configuration you already made for this computer or for this server, when you build an image, build a new computer with this image, it will also have the same information there. So that saves a lot of time. You don't need to install you don't need to copy the data, you don't need to install the agents. Everything will be coming. Whatever things you do, everything will be coming there automatically. That saves a lot of time. So moreover saving time, it will maintain the uniformity of the application servers. Okay, that is one thing. That is called as imaging. How to take the image? Very simple. I told you, right? You just have to go to the image here, capture, and you just have to follow where you want to store the image, and just say take the image. But as soon as you take the image, this test VM01 will get deleted. It will get shut down and it will get deleted. Then that image will go and sit in the marketplace images. Then you can give a custom name for it, and while building the images, you can just build a VM here. It will go to this images here. It will just come and sit here. Then you can use this image and create a new computer from that particular image. Okay, that is called as imaging. Okay, and then is scaling, upscaling and downscaling. Normally we do this activity in our office. Okay, what do you mean by upscale? Say for example, you have built a computer for test purposes. Initially when you build a test purposes, you have just opted 2 vCPUs and 4 GB memory, and you have done all your build, test, everything. Now you are moving this machine to the production. You want to make this computer as a production one, but the production one need more scales. Means it needs more configuration, then the 2 CPU will not suffice. You have to increase that CPU cores to the little bit more. Probably you may need to have 4 CPU or 8 GB memory. That is called as upscaling, means increasing the compute capacity from lower to the higher. That is called as upscaling. As we'll also call it as SKU changing. Either it can be smaller or lesser. I mean increasing or decreasing. That is called as SKU changing. SKU, stock keeping unit. Okay, SKU means SKU means SKU. SKU means it is stock keeping unit. Okay, that is called as upscale. Downscale means probably you might have built a oversize, like you might have built 8 CPU 60 GB memory, but when you go to the computer, now here it always shows you less than 30-40%. See the utilization, if you look at here performance, it is CPU is 3%, memory is 38%. That means it is not even consuming 50% of the configuration we have given. So that means I'm unnecessarily paying more money to this compute. So what I can do, I can simply reduce the size of it. Okay, that is called as downscaling. Okay, so reducing that configuration or the compute configuration, we call it as downscaling. Increasing the SKU, I mean the configuration of the VM, we call it as upscaling. Okay, so how to do that? It's very simple. I'll show that. So if you go, see, I am into the Azure portal now. Why cloud is very interesting is because of all this fingertip operations only. See, if you go to the test VM01, okay, there you have an option called size. See, this is the size. This is what I'm talking about. Okay, so in the cloud we never talk about the configuration, like CPU. I mean, what is the configuration? What is the configuration? You should use a word called size. What is the size of this particular VM? Okay, the size of this particular VM, you see here, the current size of this particular VM is, it has got about 4 2 CPU and 4 GB of memory, and the size of this VM is standard B2S. B2S means it is a B series with 2 CPUs. That is called B2S. Okay, 2 is refers the CPUs. Okay, because the pricing happens based on the CPUs and memories here. Okay, that is the reason we always call it as size. Then you go to the size blade here. As soon as you go to the size blade, it will tell you what is the current size of this particular VM. Okay, the current size is standard B2S. Subscription is free trial. Western Europe. Okay, showing another 465 VM sizes. It has got another 465 VMs. Okay, so let me, before I do that, see, yesterday it was 16,700 credits were there. Since we built 2 VMs yesterday, we have only spent about 95 credits. Okay, now what I will do, I will go and change the SKU. The current size is B2S. Now I want to increase the CPU or reduce the CPU by 1 or increase by 1. You can select whatever sizes you want here. Let me do B2S. Let me do B1S. Okay, this one I'll select B1S. Then you get the option called size, resize. Click on resize. As soon as you resize, you see here, do you want to resize to the size B1S? If the virtual machine is currently running, changing its size will cause it to be restarted. Means the virtual machine which is already running here, I have logged in. Okay, this gets restarted as soon as I click on the resize of the virtual machine. I'm clicking on it. See, now the resizing of the virtual machine is initiated. It won't take much time. It will be quicker. It will take only around 30 to 40 seconds of time to increase or decrease the size of the VM. Okay, but imagine in the traditional IT, like in your on-premises IT operations, if you want to increase a memory for a physical hardware, it is 1.5 month task. First of all, you need to understand whether that particular hardware supports extra memory or not, or extra CPUs or not. Then you need to go for the quotations. Okay, whoever is giving the less price, you have to take the quotation from 2 3 vendors. Then whatever is coming for cheaper, for that you need to raise the PO, purchase order. That purchase order has to be approved by the IT manager. Then you need to send that purchase order to the vendor to initiate the order. Then the vendor will initiate the no product delivery, correct, right? Then they will send the invoice. Then the product has to come to your office. Then they will only come and install the hardware. So it is a bigger process in the traditional or in the on-premises IT operations. But cloud is very easy because cloud is it is in the fingertip. Okay, you don't need to worry whether it is supporting or not. You don't need to worry which vendor quotations. You don't need to, because it is all pay as you go. How much ever you use, for that you have to pay. That's all. Okay, so it is still going on, resizing the virtual machine. See here. Now let this upscaling and downscaling happens. We'll come back to that later, but now we will talk about the next activity, which is called adding a new disk to the existing VM. Okay, say yesterday I was telling you, right, means by default when you talk about the VM size in the computer, in the cloud, it is only CPU and memory, correct now. If you go to the disks option here in the same VM blade, if you go to the setting under the settings blade, if you go to the disk blade, you will see there is an operating system. See, OS disk is there, which has got 128 GB. Okay, that is an operating system disk. Now, if you want to add a data disk, you have to create a disk and attach it here. Okay, how to create the disk and attach it? You can go here and create and attach a new disk. You can also do this one, or if you want to go to the disks here first, go to the disk here first, and you can click on create a disk. Where you want to keep it, you want to keep it in the same test-rg, because the virtual machine, whichever wherever or whichever resource group that particular VM is resided, you have to keep the resources related to that in the same rg. Disk name, it is test hyphen VM 01 hyphen data disk 01. See, this is the naming convention. So if you look at this name, you will be able to understand, oh, this is belongs to the test VM 01, and I can see it's a data disk 01. Okay, Western Europe zone 1, it is zone 1, or zone 2, it is zone 2, because my VM is in zone 2. Okay, and how much capacity you wanted? You want 1 TB or 1 GB? How much you wanted? You can select how much ever you wanted. So let me give only 32 GB for now. Okay, and what kind of SKU you wanted? Okay, you want premium or you want standard? Let me put it as a standard, because I don't want to spend a lot of money here. This is my lab, so standard HDD I wanted. Okay, so 32 GB, it's fine. 32 GB S4. Okay, it is the standard HDD LRS. Okay, locally redundant storage. So I'll click on create. Okay, now I have created the disks. I have created the disk for this particular uh, the test-VM01. I wanted to attach one data disk for that particular VM, because there is no test, I mean disk data disk as of now in that particular VM. Okay, so let me go to the VM here and see if this resizing is, see, resizing is still happening. Okay, so sometimes what happens, see, 1 second. So it is still updating, but however, the size of the VM is now converted or changed to B1S, standard B1S instead of B2S, which was 2 CPU, 4 GB was there earlier. After SKU reduction, it has changed 1 CPU, 1 GB memory. Okay, it is very small, 1 GB 1 CPU. It is very small. I mean, to log in only it will take a lot of time. Okay, I'm just changing the SKU and showing you, that's all. Okay, but you should always have minimum 2 CPU 4 GB memory for any operating system. Okay, that just to log in, and if you are not doing any much operations. If you are doing lot of operations, then definitely it has to be more. Okay, now I'll go to the disk option here, and let me attach the disk here for this VM. Okay, now you have an option here, create and attach a new disk or attach an existing disk. Since I've already created a disk, in the disks option I can just go to this attach existing disk. Okay, see, I can see one test VM01 data disk. I will select that, and I will, it is asking which LUN you want to put it. Since this is the first data disk, it should be 0. Okay, and I'm just applying and attaching it. So it is happening. So it got attached, but the size VM, the SKU change is still happening, updating. Okay, so if I go to the disks now, if you go to the disk here, and you can see the data disk attached to which VM. If you go to the list view here filter, manage view, edit columns, you will have owner. Yes, owner is there. Third one. See, if you see the owner of this VM disk, test-VM disk, it's showing the owner's test-VM01. That means this 32 GB disk is attached to this test-VM01. That is why the owner blade is showing test-VM01, because I have just attached it. Okay, so this is how you create the disk and attach the disk. Okay, so next one is, now increasing the disk, decreasing the disk size actually. Okay, now if you want to increase or decrease the disk size, so same thing, you have to go to the virtual machine. Okay, go to the test VM01, but it's still showing updating. But okay, go to the disk options here. Open this data disk, and go to the size and performance here. And you can select whatever number of space you wanted, select 128 GB, and you can put it as save. But if you change this standard to some other SKU, then you cannot change that. You will lose that, you will lose the data. Okay, what you have to do, you have to create a new disk, and then copy the data from old hard disk to the new hard disk, and then you remove the data disk, the old one. Okay, now I'm just changing the SKU from 32 GB to 128 GB. So it will take few minutes, then it will be done. Remember, you cannot do hard swappable for the operating system disk. Okay, operating system disk, if you want to decrease or increase, then you have to shut down the VM. Okay, and then perform. For data disk you can increase, but you cannot change the SKU tiers. This storage type, no, from standard HDD to premium or standard SSD, you cannot change. If you change, you will lose the data. Okay, be careful when you are performing any activities. Okay, so let this get happen. Updating the disk, this is also happening. I think now the virtual machine size got changed, it seems. Oh, still the same. Let me refresh once. Yeah, see, it is now running. So if I just go to the SVM01 and I can show you by connecting, it's there. Let me connect to that VM, but it will take time. Slow because only one CPU, 1 GB memory, na. So it will take some time, I guess. Test-01, I'm logging in. Yeah, see, I have logged into the VM. Now let me go to the disk option here. Let me go to the my computer first and see whether we have any disk or not. For better performance, I already told you, minimum 2 CPU and 4 GB memory should be there. At least if you don't have any operating, I mean, any other additional, plugins or softwares installed in VM means you should at least have 4 GB memory. Otherwise, it will be very, very slow. See, I don't have any data disk actually. Even though I have attached 128 GB of disk, it is showing me some temporary storage. Okay, this is temporary storage given by the Microsoft to increase the performance of the VM. Okay, this is not the one I have added. Then I want to see where is that disk is there. Then you have to go disk management, disk mgmt.msc, and you can see here 128 GB disk added here. See here. See, 128 GB unallocated disk is there. Right click on that, create a simple new volume. Okay, next, next, and give some drive letter. You can give E drive only, no worries. Next, and finish. Now, you see here, I have created a new disk, a new drive called data drive, E drive. Okay, and now if you go to the my computer or this PC, you can see your new volume. You can just rename it as data disk E. Okay, so good here. Open this, copy some content here, text file, test file. Okay, and close it, save it. Okay, now I wanted to show you one more thing. Okay, so if you go to the disk option here, if you go to the data disk here, if you go to the size and performance, it's 128 GB is there. Let me make it to 56 GB. Apply. Okay. So I'm increasing the size of the disk to show you will there be any impact to the data which is inside the operating system. Okay. So let this get applied, and then we can quickly go to the operating system server, and then we will see. So now it got added, and what I did, I went to the disk management, and you see it was 128 GB, one disk was there. What I did, I have right clicked and I have selected the extend volume and added that 128 GB, and that is the reason you can see now 256 GB of space here. Okay, now quickly go and check the data which was there inside the D drive, the data disk. See, you can see that data. You can see, you can just open and look at, you have the test disk which was the data which is, I mean, the information which was inside the text file, right? So we don't have I mean, we have the data, there is no data loss for us here. Okay. Now, I wanted to show you one more thing. If I reduce the disk size from 256 GB to 128 GB, will there be any data loss? Okay. So, to do that, what we have to do, we have to go to the blade here again. Now, instead of 256 GB, select 128 GB. See, reduction is not possible. See, when you go from 256 GB, you can select the 512 GB. But from 256 GB to 128 GB, see, you are not getting an option to save the option. That means it is one way of doing the thing. Then you want to do, but you wanted to do, you wanted to, because you are spending a lot of money there, 512 GB, you are simply paying the money, okay. But you are not using completely. Then you are thinking to reduce the size of the disk. Then you have the only option is you can go to the disk actually here. You can create a new disk. This disk is there now. You can take this. You can take this, create the snapshot for that particular disk. Create a snapshot. Okay, and you can select where you want to keep it. Test -RG01. Name of the snapshot is test VM01 data disk snapshot 01. Okay, see the naming convention, how beautifully we are managing it here. Okay, and then you just review and create. I will tell you, you don't need to copy the data also. See, what two approach I said. One is, what you can do, you can create a new disk, attach the disk, and copy the data from E drive to another drive. That is one way of doing it. But I don't want to do that because I don't want to copy the data. What I will do, I have created a snapshot of that particular disk itself. And then what I will do, I will take the snapshot and create a new disk. See, I'll go there. If I go to the resource now, go to here, go to the snapshot. Here on the global search, type snapshot. See, snapshots. See, test -VM01 data disk -snapshot01. Open that, and you can create a new disk out of this snapshot. See here, create a disk. Disk name you can give test VM01. Okay, data disk -new. Okay, then you can select the things here. Sizes is there, na? Click on the size option. You can select 128 GB. Apply OK. I think I think it was, they have changed it. Earlier we would have created the snapshot with lesser SKU, but here see, they are not allowing me to create the lesser size. See, enter the size of the disk you would like to create. You will be charged the same rate for your provision disk regardless of how much of the disk space being used. For example, a 200 GB disk is provisioned on a 256 GB disk, so you would be billed for the 256 GB only. Means what they are telling, you have to give, say for example, these are the standard size. In this we have the standard size is 256 GB, but if you create here 200 GB, if you create like this, what they are telling, even if you create 200 GB also, but the charge will be there for 256 GB only. That is one thing they are telling. And why my 128 GB is not coming here? Because I cannot create a lesser disk size using the snapshot. The snapshot, you can create a disk using the snapshot for the same size. Like you see, you can create 256 GB. Okay, see, it is validated now. Or you can go higher size. Anything more than that, 512 GB standard size, see, it is. So that means creation of the disk for the lesser size using the snapshot is not possible. Then the only way we have is, okay, that is by going to the new disk option here. Go to disk here. Okay, create a new disk. My resource group this one. Disk name is uh, the same thing, test hyphen VM01 hyphen data disk hyphen n. Okay, so this is in zone 2 and the source type is fine. The size now you can create for 256 128 GB. Select 128 GB and you create it. So once you create the disk, you can attach the disk to the VM. Okay, let me create it. See, it got created. Now I can see the deployment succeeded. Go to resources. Okay, you can go to the resource and you can verify once. Yes, this is your test -RJ01, your 128 GB premium SSD LRS. Okay, then you quickly go to the okay, now quickly go to the virtual machine here. Go to this test VM01. Go to disk option. You can attach an existing disk. Here you can select null one. The disk size is this one, test-VM data disk n. Apply. Okay. So now you have an option of creating a new VM inside the creating a new disk inside the operating system. Okay. So let this get completed. Updated the virtual machine. Now I'll quickly go inside the operating system. This is my operating system. I'll go to the run and type a command called disk mgmt management.msc. This will take me to the disk management wizard. You see, it automatically detected a new disk called disk 3 because disk 1 is my operating system, 2 is my 256 GB disk, third one is my 128 GB disk. Okay, see here, you have one disk below which is unallocated. See, unallocated is there. Right click, create a new simple volume, click next, 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 finish. So now you have an additional disk. Okay, if you go to the my computer, you can see there are two data disks now. One is data disk E and data disk F. Now what you have to do, you have to copy the data, control A, control X, go back, copy to F drive, paste it here. Yes, now you have copied the data from E drive to F drive. Now E drive is vacant, it is empty. Now what you can do, you can go to the here to the virtual machine in the cloud. Okay, you can just click on this test VM data disk 01. Okay, go to the disk option here. There is an option called detach. See, plug symbol is there. Can you see this detach symbol here? So if I go here right side, yeah, so this is my test VM01 disks. Actually, I am inside here, inside the virtual machine. I am selected the test VM01 and I went to the disks option. Okay, and if you look at the first one is null 0. Lun 0 is, it is data disk 01, and you can see an option called detach. If you click on detach, that will get removed from the machine. Apply. Now if you go to the operating system and if you look at, you will not have that E drive. See, virtual machine got updated. Now if you go to the operating system, if I open that, go to the PC, and you see here you don't have E drive, you only have F drive. Now you can change the drive letter of E to F. So F to E. Okay, this F drive is there now. Right click, and you have an option called change the drive letter and paths. Instead of F, change, click on change, you can make it E. Now all your applications are pointed to the E drive. Yep. So this is how you do or you play with your uh, disks. See, now it is 128 GB and you have all the data. Okay. And similarly, if you change the data here, if you go to the SKU here option, disk option here, okay, even if you change the SKU from standard to premium or premium to any other SKU, right, there also you will lose the data. In such scenarios also you have to do the same approach what I did now. Okay, so we have covered most of the activities. Tomorrow again I will show take few more activities with respect to the virtual machine. Okay, and then we can go for the virtual networks and other topics. Okay, for now I'll stop the recording. We'll continue from tomorrow. Okay, thank you. 1 second, wait. Thanks all.